Vanakkam. I'm Vayoni Dimel. This is Boston Lanka News, bringing you news, views and entertainment from Boston and USA. India is in a moral dilemma about Sri Lankan resolution to vote for or against. Independence of the judiciary is in decline. All started with J.R Jayawardene regime, according to Judge Weerawansa. Politicians do not allow the police to perform their duties without fear or favor, says Karu Jayasuriya. Project will begin soon to beautify Colombo. World Bank funds the project. Amnesty International releases a report on Sri Lanka outlining illegal detention and enforced disappearances. Wimal Weerawansa calls Sri Lankans to boycott US products in Sri Lanka. Is he serious or joking? As far as our position on the resolution is concerned, we are engaged with all parties in an effort to achieve a forward-looking outcome that is based on reconciliation and accountability rather than deepening confrontation and mistrust between the concerned parties, said Indian Foreign Affairs Minister S.M. Krishna, making a statement at the Indian Parliament about the US draft resolution on Sri Lanka at the UN Human Rights Session in Geneva. Minister Krishna further said, "I would like to inform this House that our objectives, as always, continue to remain the achievement of a future for the Tamil community in Sri Lanka that is marked by equality, dignity, justice and self-respect." The draft resolution against Sri Lanka has brought a moral dilemma to India, especially with the demands of some political parties from Tamil Nadu to voting against Sri Lanka. This was the topic last week in the Indian NDTV panel discussion.
These Tamil Nadu politicians at the moment are misplaced in their view about Sri Lanka. It's unfortunate that we have invited them to visit Sri Lanka and to ascertain the situation by themselves. But we have not seen them in Sri Lanka. They can go to the northern Sri Lanka, they can go anywhere and see the real situation. Without doing that, they seem to be going on these lobby groups that are based in the western part of the world, who are mainly Sri Lankan Tamil, some of them who used to support LTT. They seem to be lobbying the Tamil Nadu politicians.
We have to look at this not from the point of view of what the Tamil parties or whatever you call them. They are the office bearers of some political parties, but it's not the majority opinion in Tamil Nadu. We're not going into this question. It's a national security question for us. LTT was an anti-Indian organization. It had assassinated a person who had been a Prime Minister of India. It had carried out all kinds of sabotage activities in Tamil Nadu before the Chandrasekhar government dismissed the DMK government. Now, we are dealing with two different problems. First is that the Sri Lankan president fought the war against LTT, which was essentially a war on behalf of India in one sense, because the LTT was an enemy of India.
Human Rights Watch actually said that there were allegations of war crimes by both sides, by the LTT and by the Sri Lankan army, and they all need to be investigated. We also said that there should be an impartial and credible investigation, because previous investigations by the Sri Lankan government, including one which was headed by Justice Bhagwati, who is an Indian very respected judge, former judge, the eminent persons group, had to walk away in disgust because the Sri Lankan government was not conducting that investigation properly.
The resolution itself, the only thing that's before me here, the only thing against it is it's one-sided. It doesn't talk about all the horrendous human rights violations by the LTT, which is still going on.
Yeah.
And the amount of money that is going all over the world to finance LTT.
So according to
that one of the Sri Lankan officials claimed that India has been dropping broad hints that it will support the Sri Lankan position, will support Sri Lanka at the Human Rights Council. In fact, India has never taken that position. As Minister Narayan Swamy just explained, India has not taken a position because it has not yet seen the language of the resolution. But the Sri Lankans have been preempting and guessing at Indian positions like this, despite a fairly strong diplomatic silence from India's side.
Is look, we are pouring in 500 crores for resettlement of Tamilians. The External Affairs Minister was there to inaugurate a housing project of 50,000 houses for them. We are investing in the uplift of the northeast by the reopening of the Kankesanthur Port, the Palali Airport, and we're building railway communications between Colombo and the north. So, if you are going to do this and not get replaced by the Chinese or pushed out by the Chinese and Pakistanis, you have to maintain a certain degree of credibility with the government. The past is the past which needs to be investigated.
Okay.
And the future is the welfare of the Tamils.
Well, I think that India should push for an independent international investigation into what happened in Sri Lanka, because it's a genocide and the number of people who died could be anywhere between 40,000, which is the UN figure, to somewhere like 80,000 to 100,000, which the Tamil groups are suggesting. So India should, ask for much more than what the LLRC promises, because the LLRC even talks against the idea of a Tamil homeland. So India has to be, true not only to Tamils in Ilam, but it also should be true to Tamils in Tamil Nadu, and therefore it should call for an independent international investigation.
I have been to the island a week ago. I have been to the island a week ago. People want to get on with life with a better. 21,000 Tamils died. Some 6,000 Sri Lankan soldiers died. As for that young boy, I want to say this. Let it be investigated, because I would like to say Prabhakaran and those around him always used human shields. So it could well have been caught in a crossfire. But I'm not passing judgment, it has to be investigated.
But okay.
The judges today do not have self-confidence. They do not know the dignity of their position or are not aware of its independency, said the former High Court Judge W.T. MPB Weerawansa, addressing the Association of Young Lawyers. The state of destroying the independency of the judiciary began with the J.R Jayawardene's administration, said Judge Weerawansa, adding that certain judges are not aware of the dignity of their profession. Elaborating further, Judge Weerawansa said that the executive, the legislature and the judiciary should be independent of each other. One should not be allowed to dominate the other. Judge Weerawansa gave the dissenting judgment in the White Flag case, exonerating General Fonseca of all charges. Remaining silent at this juncture as an elected representative of the people would be to betray the trust and confidence they have placed in me, said Kadu Jayasuriya, issuing a statement as he described about the alarming deterioration of the law and order situation in Sri Lanka. Pointing out about the growing trend of people taking the law into their own hands, Mr. Jayasuriya said that the anger over the inaction by the police is forcing the public to resort to violence, demanding fair play and justice, while police come under heavy pressure from powerful politicians in performing their legitimate duties without fear or favor. Recently, people set fire on the house of a ruling party supporter in Kahavatta over the reported killing of a mother and daughter. In another incident, ruling party member, the chairman of the Colombo Urban Council, Ravindra Udayashanta, has alleged that a group of persons who later turned out to be army personnel tried to abduct him. Instead of an investigation, overnight, the officer in charge of the Vellampitiya police station has been transferred out. Those in custody, it is reported, have been released allegedly at the intervention of a senior police officer. As Mr. Jayasuriya pointed out, the police are unable to investigate properly or protect the government's own supporters, leave alone others. Sinister and powerful forces are resorting to extra-legal measures, and the police appear to be helpless for fear of reprisals. The Metro Colombo Urban Development Project plans to give Colombo a major facelift that aims to minimize floods and beautify the capital will begin shortly. Tenders have been called by the Defense Ministry for this $213 million World Bank funded project. The project received cabinet approval in May 2011. Under infrastructure development, R.A. Mawatha and Gaul Road will be upgraded along with roads in Dehiwala, Mount Lavinia, Kotte and Kolonnawa. In addition, Town Hall Square will be improved along with pedestrian overhead bridges at Kolpiti and Bambalapitiya. A marine drive promenade with a leisure park and waterfront recreational park in Crow Island are also planned. Pavements of 10 main roads in Colombo will also be improved, and construction of 15 toilet complexes are also in the pipeline. The World Bank will fund a feasibility study on solid waste management system for Metro Colombo as part of the project. The Sri Lankan government is illegally holding hundreds of prisoners who are subject to torture and executions, Amnesty International said in a report titled "Locked Away: Sri Lanka's Security Detainees," which was released this week. According to the report, illegal detention and enforced disappearances are routine in Sri Lanka. Speaking to the media, Amnesty International's Asia Pacific Director Sam Zarifi said, "A lack of accountability for alleged war crimes gave the green light to Sri Lankan authorities to act with impunity." Meanwhile, the message coming from Sri Lankan government is that those who dare criticize it risk harassment or even disappearance, said Zarifi. While rejecting the latest allegations of arbitrary, illegal detention in Sri Lanka and extrajudicial execution made by Amnesty International, Sri Lankan Minister of Justice Rauf Hakim said that the claims are made to tarnish the image of Sri Lanka internationally at this crucial juncture. The report comes as Sri Lanka seeks to derail a move by the US to introduce a draft resolution at United Nations Human Rights Council, increasing international pressure on Colombo to conduct an independent investigation. Canadian Tamil Congress recently held a fundraiser in Canada to raise funds for the Amnesty International.
Our human rights work with respect to Sri Lanka, where we have worked for years, for decades, to ensure that human rights violations against the Tamil community come to an end and that the rights of all Sri Lankans be equally upheld and protected. And as you heard from Priya right now, a focus of that for us is the importance of ensuring that an international inquiry be conducted so that there is truth, there is justice, there is accountability for all of the terrible violations and abuses that have occurred in the country.
And I just came back from Geneva, as many of you know. One thing I want to tell you is that it is the only friend we have at times. Amnesty International has been the only voice of reason in the international community. And today, in Geneva, in New York, when countries again are turning down the report of the Secretary General and are saying, this is not acceptable, we will not consider the Secretary General's panel report on Sri Lanka. It is Amnesty International which is standing firm with the Tamil community and calling for justice in Sri Lanka. So I am not going to leave here until we raise another $10,000 to get to the 50,000 goal.
Amnesty International confirmed the receipt of $50,000 from the Canadian Tamil Congress. Let's create a country that boycotts American brands and then show the US that we are prepared to fight with them if they want to fight with us, said Minister Wimal Weerawansa addressing an anti-UN resolution rally in Colombo. He called on people to boycott American brands such as Coca-Cola, Pepsi, KFC, McDonald's, and Google's email service Gmail. Responding to Minister Weerawansa's call for the boycott of US products, US Embassy in a statement said, "We respect the right of peaceful protest and for citizens to freely express their opinions. These are hallmarks of democracy." Meanwhile, the leader of the House and senior cabinet minister Nimal Siripala de Silva on Sunday said that the US resolution will not harm cordial relationships between Sri Lanka and the US, and the two countries will remain friends. UNP parliamentarian Dayasiri Jayasekara said that Minister Wimal Weerawansa should first be true to his word and boycott American products before calling on others to do. MP Jayasekara said, Wimal Weerawansa uses an iPad, which is itself an American product. He uses his iPad to find songs to sing through Google at parties I've been present. So how can he ask people to give up American products? That concludes our news edition. We meet you again with another news edition of News, Views and Entertainment from Boston and USA. Till then, goodbye.